So I decided to make a curry, and Stephen, a friend of mine in South Africa, asked me if I could send some over, which obviously you can't do from the UK. So we'll just chuck some ingredients together to see how it goes. So for today's one, obviously got some lamb, which we got out the freezer. Normally use onions, but I've got these shallots laying around. Obviously, normal staple: ginger, garlic. Some chilies. Normally we get the smaller finger chilies, but that's all that was in the fridge. Some lamb stock, and then your spices: garam masala, the main one, ground coriander, cinnamon, turmeric. Not much left, but should be enough. Cardamom pods. I normally split those and just take the seeds out because I can't stand biting into those things. Fennel seeds, cumin seeds, coriander seeds, and some ground cumin as well. So, black pepper and tomatoes. And then for the chili powder, we actually get this from a mall in South Africa near Durban, Lalusha Mall. It's near Umhlanga, and that was like £3, but it was a huge bag, 45 rand. And that's what we use for our curries. It's sort of hand mixed in the shop. It's a really cool shop. So today it's going in the slow cooker because it's lunchtime and we don't really want to eat until later. So right, let's get going. I forgot to mention ghee. Although I'm doing it in the slow cooker, the onions and the spices and the lamb will be sort of fried in ghee, which is a clarified butter. It's what the Indians use, I think, quite often, and it doesn't separate. It's already had the fat separated from it. So I'm not going to use a recipe, but I've made quite a few curries in the past. And obviously one of the things is we have got like ground and seeds of the same thing. The reason I'm using both is that it just gives a little bit of extra texture, and you do get a different flavour from them. So it's really just personal, preference. The fennel seeds, obviously, especially when they're whole, they can sort of have quite a bite of aniseed in the curries. But I normally just grind the seeds down a bit, and it just sort of softens them up a bit. So put about a spoon of that in. That's the fennel. It's the cumin. A bit less. And coriander. Often we use a lot of coriander seeds when we're making homemade biltong. And for now, I'll just grind those up. I don't want them too fine, but I normally, personal preference, I normally find just like that. Otherwise, obviously, if you do them too much, then it's just like having proper ground spices. Right, now for the ground spices. So garam masala, I normally use that as my staple. I'm going to put 2 heaped teaspoons in. About half a heaped teaspoon of ground coriander. Cinnamon stick. That I'll actually put in when I do the onions, so I'll put that in the other one over there. Turmeric, it's got quite a strong flavour. There's only small amount left in there, so there's probably only half a teaspoon, if that, in there. Ground cumin, which is actually one of the staple ingredients of chili powder as well. And some black pepper. Again, maybe half a teaspoon. And then finally, some of this chili powder. I'm going to use 2 teaspoons heaped. I think they call it mother-in-law's chili powder, which is just the blend that they use. So obviously that will go in once the onions are done. The other thing that we want is cardamom pods, and what I normally do is just split them open. For some reason some have black seeds in and some have these sort of, hard to say, grey seeds, but just crush them up a bit. Depending on how much you like the flavour, I put normally 2 or 3 of those in, depending on how big they are. So next thing is to prepare the ginger. The easiest way of getting the skin off, just using a small spoon, and you can just scrape it off. Again, no set amount of ginger. We like a lot of ginger in our curries, so we probably put more in, and even if we're following a recipe, we would normally put more ginger in than what the recipe asks for. But obviously there's that. Probably going to put probably about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic in. They're quite big cloves, these ones, so maybe 3 will do. There's only 400 grams of meat, so it's not going to be a huge curry. When I cut the ginger, I like to try and cut it as thin as possible. Otherwise you end up with a huge chunk of ginger in your mouth. It doesn't always make the flavour that good. If you don't wanna change, ain't no place to hide, ain't no one to run to. If you don't wanna change. So that's the ginger. See, quite a lot there, as you can see. And now we're going to do the garlic. I can help you out. 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 Okay, and next we need to cut up the onions. So as I say, I'm going to use shallots because they've been in the cupboard for a couple of weeks, and we're not really going to use them for anything else. I think they were bought for a Rick Stein curry that I made before a holiday, so they've been sitting around, but they're still alright, so I'll see, make sure all of them are okay, otherwise I might have to add some normal onion as well. Right, and then I'm just going to finally slice these. I'm probably going to make some sambles later as well, which is onion, tomato, some lemon juice, some salt and some chilies. and so we normally use half an onion for that. So I'm probably going to stick half an onion in as well, but big chunks. I just like to have big chunks of onion in as well because it just gives a little bit of a different consistency. So that's the ghee going in. Just want a decent amount of that so that it's going to dry. I've also chopped up some onion, just bigger bits, just to give it a bit of different consistency. And once that's melted, I'll put the onions in first, give them a few minutes, then we'll add the garlic and the ginger, and then finally we'll put the spices that I ground will go in as well, together with cinnamon stick. Can go in now. I normally use a very big pot for doing the curries, but as I'm just doing the onions and the meat in here today, I'm just using a smaller one. So you can see that the onions are starting to soften. So I'm going to put the garlic and the ginger in, and I've also cut up some green chilies. Not the finger chilies we normally use, but just the flavour you get from fresh chilies is just different to the powder, so it's nice to have both in there. So while they're softening, I'll put the slow cooker on, and I'm just going to put the tomatoes in there, and that should get them warmed up. Will be a little bit of stock going in as well. So the lamb stock cube, probably with about 400-500 mils of water. Have to see. We use potatoes to thicken that up as well. So a few potatoes that we got from the garden going in there. Right. So I'm going to put the spices that I ground myself in, and give them a few minutes to get the aromas and the flavours coming out. And I may as well also just put the chilies in. So it's softened nicely now. I think what I'm going to do is just stick this in the slow cooker with the tomatoes, and then I'm going to do the lamb separately and add the other spices to the lamb once that's started releasing some of its fat. A little bit more ghee in there. You can also use cooking oil if you haven't got ghee, or if you prefer cooking oil. It's personal preference really. We've just sort of got into the habit of using this. And then add the lamb. This was actually a leg of lamb that we got, and a friend of mine deboned and chopped for us. hot, you want to burn them. And we shall add some water to it, just to get the dry bits off the bottom. Obviously, I haven't mentioned salt yet. I normally put that in towards the end. So obviously, with the stock and the other spices, you're never really sure how salty it's going to be. It will need salt, but normally do that once it's cooked for a bit, just to make sure you don't put too much in, because it's not easy to fix once you put too much salt in. Just let that come to the boil again, and then add that into the slow cooker. So we've got the tomatoes and the onions and stuff we did earlier, and I'm going to now put the lamb in. Set on high for now. Once it actually comes up to heat, I'll probably put it onto auto or low, depending on what settings you've got. So I've just chopped up some potatoes. You don't need too many. They don't need to be, sort of medium size. They don't need to go in yet, so just sticking them in some water so that they don't go brown. And I'll probably put them in about an hour or so. They only need a couple of hours in the slow cooker, otherwise they go all mushy. But you want them in there long enough that it sort of thickens the sauce up. So we normally serve the curry with chutney. This is Ball's chutney, which is South African, and then samballs, which is made up normally half a onion, tomato, some lemon juice, normally finger chilies, but we've only got these ones, and some salt. So we'll go ahead and make that. Okay, slight problem as I didn't get a recording of the chopping, but basically you want everything finely chopped: tomatoes, the onions, chilies. Mix that together. You don't have to put the chilies in. Some people use it to sort of aid in cooling the curry, or the flavour of the curry, but we like having them in there. And then juice from 1 lemon, preferably without the pips. Something that I can give you here. And then probably about a teaspoon of salt. It's really to flavour, but the onion and the tomato do need quite a lot of salt. That's all ready now. That can go and be covered up, put in the fridge for later. I'm just going to give it a little taste. Here I am, falling down, crashing down, and I feel like I don't need you. Here I am, falling down, deep inside, and I feel like I don't need you. Okay, I can taste now that definitely needs some salt. So I'm going to put some in. And I'm also going to put some more garam masala in. One other thing I'm also going to put in is some sugar. I quite often put things like pineapple, which some people don't like in my curries, or some of the mango chutney. But as we're running quite low on that, I'm just going to put a couple of teaspoons of sugar in, and that helps bring the flavour out quite a bit. You can sort of play around with how much you want in there, but it is quite a common ingredient in a lot of the curries that we make, either by using fruit or sugar. So one last thing that I like to put in, normally about half an hour or so from the end, is, depending on the size of the curry, 1 or 2 fresh tomatoes, just cut into 6 pieces, and the pieces stay pretty much intact, and it just gives a little bit more depth to the consistency and flavour. It's time for potatoes. Tomatoes are in, give it one quick stir, and then all it needs is for a taster. Want to come over and taste it?
Seeing that I'm the curry queen, I think I should be the taster. Let's give it a go. Ooh, it's hot. That is good. That's nice. It's got a nice kick to it as well.
So that's another thumbs up. Right, ready to serve. First things first, nice Melbeck, because Melbeck's a nice, strong taste, spicy food. Then some rice. Of course, we mustn't forget the coriander on top, and then we can serve that with some chutney, some sambals, and there you go, a nice simple curry made from scratch.